This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're a blogger, artist, or merchant in need of an online presence, Squarespace has all the website building, marketing, and analytics tools you'll need to build a beautiful website and grow your brand. Hi there, I'm Indecisiveness, the person, and this week we're doing something just a little bit different. Now, I'm no stranger to character design on this channel, but what I am a stranger to is all of you lovely viewers. So I wanted to include your brains in the process for once, mostly in an effort to give mine a rest, because oh boy, there's just too much going on up there. So basically my plan for today is to choose a bunch of aesthetic images that you guys submitted and only using that image, turn it into a concept for a character. I'm probably going to keep these very first in draft and sketchy so that I can do a bunch of them. And as much as possible, both for the sake of the challenge and because I don't really feel like doing research this week, I'm going to try to only keep to that one image and my own brain for my inspiration. So let's go to the DMs and see what interesting things you guys sent me. I'm a little afraid, to be honest. It looks like we got quite a few DMs, especially in my message request. So thank you for the participation, everybody. From Ligia Ogata. There's so much going on in this image. All right, I'm intrigued. What we got? So it looks like this is a group from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and they wear costumes and they do like choreography and acrobatics. That's pretty sick. I feel like this is incredibly niche and that would be very fun to make a character about. Thank you, Ligia. I'm so sorry. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Rise Illustration sent a very like moody looking background here. That is already kind of sending chills up my spine. I feel like that would be very cool to make like a kind of horror character for. All right, Cerebral Stew, excellent name by the way, sent a bunch of different things. Ooh, I especially love this like very whimsical illustration of a moon and some dancing frogs with mushroom hats. I feel like that's fabulous. Okay, I have to include this one because I read this one first before any of the others earlier today. This beautiful purple Webkinz raccoon, which I am not gonna lie, is up there. It's a contender. Ooh, okay. I love this. I would like this in my house. Oh, okay. You did good. You guys are making it really difficult to choose. They just sent their entire Pinterest to me. All right, Karen Jewel? I don't know if that's how I say your name, but there's just so much going on here and it's literally throwing my maximalist brain into a state of ecstasy. This is what it feels like whenever I am intoxicated. This is fabulous. Thank you. Hello, I hope you like pop surrealism. As a matter of fact, I do like pop surrealism. Okay, this especially slay. If BoJack Horseman was made by A24. This is a nice one to end it on from Jackal Garcia. Excellent. Beautiful. Again, this might also make it in. It's so wholesome. Also very wholesome. Okay, I think that's gonna have to be it for now because I got so many submissions because also a lot of you sent in like an entire Pinterest board of recommendations, so thank you for that. Okay, so I'm gonna let those marinate a little bit and wait until tomorrow morning to actually pick the finals to let everyone else send some more in. But those were absolutely lovely to look at. I feel like we had a nice little bonding experience, so thank you so much for sending those in. But do you know what has the potential to connect me even more to my audience? This video's sponsor, Squarespace. If you're an artist who has any amount of folks following along with you on your art journey, might I suggest Squarespace for all of your portfolio, online store, and brand unification needs. Not only do they offer a wide array of beautiful templates that make customizing your portfolio so simple I can do it, they also offer tools that make it easier for you to connect to the folks who are following you and your work. Members areas allow users to unlock exclusive content via monthly subscription like your own private Patreon. Squarespace's newsletters and email campaigns can easily inform your audience of new website features, shop updates, or brand projects. And with social selling, you can sync your products to your social medias and seamlessly sell from your Facebook or Instagram profiles. Suppose someone from your audience is going to your Instagram profile to say, DM you a photo of a purple Webkinz raccoon. Social selling allows you to advertise products of yours that theoretical person might be interested in via Facebook and Instagram stories, posts, and shops on your page. And with all this talk of products, it probably warrants me mentioning that Squarespace also has a fantastic e-commerce platform that can be linked right alongside your website, and you can even link it to a print-on-demand service like the one I use for an even more streamlined selling experience. So if you want to unify solidify your online marketing and feel like you know what you're doing, head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/pricklyalpaca to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. Now let's take a look at my final selections. Alright, these are the images that I ended up choosing. I had a lot more in my folder, but these are the ones that I was able to get to this week. These were submitted by Ellie Wishes, Ashaivov, Cerebral Stew, Amarician, Lafieli, and Kelstitch. Also, I am very sorry for butchering all of your lovely names. And disclaimer! I do not claim to originate this idea. Lots of people have done it before. I'm just having fun, so let's jump into it. Okay, so this first one is a joke, but I actually had a super fun time working on it. This is the first image that I opened in my DMs, and it gave me a big laugh because even though it's really silly, a character immediately popped into my head. And that is sort of my reasoning for choosing the images that I chose. I have a lot more saved in my inspiration folder, but I mostly chose images where immediately I started getting an idea of a character that I wanted to draw. And this one made me think of a scene girl wearing one of those very RAR XD animal hoodies. And this is pretty far from the types of characters that I normally draw, so I really wanted to design one. And again, I'm pulling pretty much entirely from my own brain with these. I didn't really allow myself to look up other inspiration on Pinterest or Google other things. The most I let myself do was Google visual reference for a few things, like a violin later on. So it really made me tap into the image itself and forced me to take shapes and colors and textures from just that. I actually had so much fun with this, and I highly recommend it if you've never done it. It is like a top tier art blockbuster. Like, I had too many ideas before, and now I'm overwhelmed with ideas. So my jumping off point for this girl was really just the idea of an emo scene character who's really into this whole like pastel side of the fashion. Maybe they're in a band. And I also like the fact that the name of the plush is Brilliant Bandit. I really feel like that could be a good name for like an emo scene band, because especially with emo culture, it has all like the black, but also like bright neon and pastels as accent colors. So of course, the base of the outfit is a little pastel purple and white raccoon hoodie, and I tried to fit as many little references to the plush in the hoodie as I could. It has a little raccoon face and ears, it has a tail, striped sleeves, and I even gave it little pink toes on the sleeve cuffs. And I paired that with matching fluffy leg warmers and just went all out with the classic scene mid-2000s trends and accessories. She's got a baby shirt with a paw print on it. She's got a purple sequin skirt to match the paw pads on the plushie. She's got the striped tights, the studded belts, the fingerless gloves, the barrettes and jewelry, and let us not forget the iconic scene hair with the little raccoon stripes and the heavy raccoon eye makeup. I also finished off the look with a cutesy purple bass guitar with little paw prints on it too. Oh, and I also gave her a little Webkinz temporary tattoo on her stomach because I simply had to. I was there, I remember the culture, and this little raccoon girl is now looking straight out of 2005, although I did do a couple of things to like modernize it a little bit. I feel like a lot of these are trends that came back around, so this definitely could also be like a TikTok influencer on the resurgence of like the emo scene trends. In the end, it's very silly, but it's also kind of a look. It's not something I would normally draw, so it's nice to get out of my comfort zone a little bit now and then. Alright, up next is this super cute image of a carnival ride, and the color grading is really nostalgic and kidcore. The color palette is super pretty, but there's also something a little bit liminal about this image. Like, I can see people on the ride, but I can't see their faces, and it just feels very inviting, but also like I don't trust something about it, probably because it's a carnival ride that has maybe never passed inspection. And also, carnivals and amusement parks, they give me the ick. So I just ended up going in a super weird direction with this and designed a very off-putting clown. This is what I mean about these bringing out character designs that I never would have come up with on my own. I can't say that I've ever sat down to draw and thought, draw a clown today. It's not usually in the cards for me, but here we are. That being said, dadgummit, I had too much fun with this one. So the character that popped into my head from this was a sort of diluted carnival clown. Like, clowns are already very off, but I wanted to make it even more psychotic and intense than usual. Something along the lines of Pennywise after doing an entire bucket of acid. So I took that circular blimp-shaped language from the ride and started there, and I ended up going for an almost like Tudor Elizabethan court jester look, since I wanted to incorporate that rounded shape on the shoulders and hips, and basically gave them big poofy sleeves and trunk hose? Don't we just love me putting historical fashion references in the most inappropriate of places? And as even more of a reference to the Elizabethan period, lots of ruffs, a wasp-waisted silhouette, and lots of intricate designs, and the hair may or may not have been Elizabeth I inspired too. I don't know why this is what came to me, but oh boy did I run with it. The rest of the outfit was mostly just trying to incorporate references to the design of the ride. The headpiece around the hair is based on the shape of the top of the ride, the ribbons coming off their hips and ribbon design on their leggings come from the ride's paint scheme, and I meticulously took screenshots of each of the hot air balloon looking motifs on the ride and tried to copy their design onto each of the sleeves and the poofy trunk hose at the hips. Most of this came together really nicely, but I did have a good bit of trouble trying to balance the different color scheme on the torso and hips part of the design. I think it looks a little bit busy. That is what I'm going for, but I want it to be maybe a little bit more restrained. But I have been trying to incorporate more actual patterns and designs into my character designs lately, so this was definitely a good exercise for that because a lot of times I get a little bit too lazy and I just don't do it. But I do very much like all of the little intricacies of a very busy design. I'm a maximalist. It makes my brain happy for some reason. You know, just as a guiding principle, the soft-brained like myself, we need something abrasive to rub against our brains in order for them to gain texture, and how do you expect my brain to get wrinklier if I'm not rubbing this 10 grit sandpaper on it every single day of my life? Anyways, for good measure, I added a creepy Pennywise balloon to the design as well, and this design is done. So this one is a bit of a cheat because it's an illustration and not a photograph, but the original illustration is called Welcome to the Woods, and it is by Ebonyland on DeviantArt. I was able to reverse image search it and find the original artist, but I just thought it was so cute. I love the art style, and I got an idea for a character right away, so I just wanted to do a design based on it real quick. The image I got in my head was of a whimsical old man who dons a bunny mask and serenades all of the forest creatures, and even though there's already a rabbit character in this piece, I wanted to extrapolate all the little elements of the illustration and turn it into a single character design. So I took the original coat the rabbit was wearing and basically added a bunch of fluffy tree trim to it to symbolize the tree line above the scene, and basically treated the coat like a tapestry for the scene to take place in. So I added a sprawling tree limb design to the front center of the coat that also creeped up into the collar and onto the bottom trim, and lined that up and down with gold buttons, and added a finely woven scene into the coat depicting the forest floor and the little tree men peeking into the piece. And I finished the coat off by adding a little glowing star fringe to the sleeves and to the bottom trim. As a few more references to the original piece, I kept the bunny's neckwear, pants, and shoes, and I added little white gloves to the hands to really mimic the rabbit's hands. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without a violin and a few forest animals watching the performance. This wasn't a super serious design, but I think it turned out really whimsical and cute, and I had a lot of fun playing around with it. I think this would be a really fun design premise to take pieces of art and try to turn them into a wearable costume. I definitely think this is something that someone could make into a physical garment. So I might try doing something like this in the future, turning classical paintings into costume designs or just art in general. I think that would be very interesting. This next one is kind of a guilty pleasure choice because I saw this image and it just made me super hungry, and it also looks like something that I would have on my collage wall, but I just wanted to turn these strawberry parfait smoothie things into a character, and when I saw this I immediately thought of a very soft feminine princess core / kawaii aesthetic, and I just wanted to draw a cute girl enjoying a summer snack because it's January and I'm upset about it. So this of course meant I had to draw another Selkie inspired dress because I have a problem, and I tried to make a very cutesy but cohesive outfit based on the treat. So I tried to follow along with the kind of chunky look of the parfait and design an outfit that's very camp kitschy but in a very cute way. So I gave her chunky sneakers, a little strawberry purse, a half up bun hairstyle, and for some reason I did that with almost all of these. I'm sorry about that. And of course a poofy high-waisted princess dress with strawberry sleeves. I also meant to give her heart-shaped sunglasses to reference the heart cookie in the smoothie, but you'll hopefully see that in the final product if I remember to do it. One of the most difficult aspects of this one was the coloration and trying to incorporate the cookie dough that I think is in the smoothie into the design. So I ended up giving her a little tan bodice to go over the dress to try to bring that color out, and I'm not sure how I like it in the end. I think it throws off the design a little bit, but I still think it's pretty cute. It's all I could really come up with. For the rest of the colors, I just pulled from the image and stuck pretty closely to reds, pinks, whites, and lavenders, with the exception of the green strap and leaf on the purse, which I think add a fun touch. I tried to lightly pattern the dress to look like a mixed up smoothie, kind of pulling from some of the more abstract fabrics in Selkie's dress lines, especially like these. Again, I'm not sure how I like it in the end. I think I had something very different in my mind whenever I was trying to do it, but it just didn't quite come out that way. I think I should have maybe incorporated more lavender just to actually pull straight from the color of the photo. But you know, hey, it's a learning experience. Maybe don't make my color so muddy next time. To finish things off, I added some pink streaks in her hair and a strawberry treat in her hand, and generally just made it look sparkly like the photo. Again, this one was silly, but it was a ton of fun and a good excuse to draw something very just cute, indulgent. I have to do this at least once in a while. Otherwise, I will go out in public looking like this. And now, dude, we're getting even weirder because I have once again returned to the darkest recesses of my brain and come out with whatever this is based on Tentacle Lamp. Now I saw Tentacle Lamp and my jaw dropped. It was love at first sight. I want it in my room, and since I can't have it, I'm going to turn it into a character. And for some reason, the character that popped into my head was like a burlesque showgirl from the 1950s, but also kind of like the 3050s. I like the idea that fashion wraps around so much by 3050 that people are just trying to look like lamps every day. I just remember watching a lot of 1950s era sitcoms like I Love Lucy as a kid and seeing all of the elaborate headdresses and outfits the showgirls would wear, and upon looking at this lamp, that is what came to mind. So the silhouette is based pretty strictly on the lamp. I saw sort of the curve in the middle and went, aha, that is hips, and then I just made the top kind of like a weird headdress. And then I just took various other elements like the flower petals and made them repeat motifs in the design. I kind of used them as like a seashell bra type situation. I used them on the headdress and then also like coming off the skirt, if you can even call it that. And speaking of the skirt, I kind of literally tried to translate the neck of the lamp, if you would call it that, directly into sort of a mermaid skirt. Now, I don't think this would be actually functional, but it would be fashion for the year 3050, which is where I'm interpreting this for some reason. From there, everything is a pretty close one-to-one interpretation. A lot of it was just deciding like where color is going to go and how am I going to interpret this specific detail versus this one. One of the fun decisions that I ended up making was making sort of the like on-off switch for the lamp, one of her earrings. And since that was like a beaded chain, I also took that and used it as a repeat motif in the design and interpreted it as pearls hanging off of her in various places. And of course, it is a lamp, so it has to glow. So each one of the little like lamp bulbs do glow on the design. And this kind of reminds me of like the fancy dress parties that rich like Americans would have in the Gilded Age. There's actually like an electricity dress that someone made and wore to one of those parties in like the late 19th century, early 20th century. So again, story-wise, in like a crazy future where fashion wraps around into a super weird place, I feel like this might be a costume that some rich elite snob would wear to a fancy dress party, trying to be all, ooh, aren't I original? Don't I have the best costume here? Also, I can't walk. I must be moved on a hoverboard or something like that. I think that's a fun way to interpret this into a story context, but really, I just wanted to draw a character based on a weird lamp, and I absolutely love how it came out. This is probably one of my favorite character designs that I've done in recent memory, and it's just based on a very, very weird, suspicious lamp. Okay, last up is probably the coolest image of the bunch. This person on the subway carrying a very large terrarium that houses frogs, presumably? I think I see a frog in there. Anyways, I basically created an entire character for this one, and he's probably the most fleshed out. So I saw this one and imagined like a post-apocalyptic botanist that basically goes around in an era following the almost complete environmental destruction of Earth and tries to save plants and other endangered species. I really like the trope of humble folks finding themselves in positions where their skills are very valued and are sort of thrust into leadership whenever that's not their traditional role, whenever a community suddenly like desperately needs their skills. Shout out to like Laura Roslin from Battlestar Galactica. Hello, yes, the president of the board of the Department of Education. You are now the president of the entire human species. Congratulations. There's definitely others that come to mind, but that's like the vibe, you know? So following in that sort of vein, I feel like a botanist is someone that we very much take for granted today that would become invaluable in a post-apocalyptic situation. So I kind of imagine that this character works for a small organization of scientists who have found each other and are trying to restore plant life and other endangered species. And I imagine that these scientists have to go out and journey through debris and wreckage and even possibly fight other survivors to locate specimens to try to save. And the air is polluted, so they have to carry oxygen tanks with them and wear respirators and goggles. And there's like like fallout and debris everywhere, so they have to protect their skin. Maybe the climate has changed to be really cold, which is another thing making it difficult for plant life to survive. So I really tried to adorn him with like clothing and accessories that would help tell the story that I imagine him in. I really wanted his clothing to be a mishmash of whatever he could find. I think one of the easiest ways to carry extra clothing with you, especially if it's cold out, is just to wear it. So I gave him lots of layers of clothing that might not make sense together, but it would keep the person warm. And I also like the idea in these sort of sci-fi post-apocalyptic settings of there being a huge clash between like natural organic things and all of this leftover industrialization that may or may not work. In some cases, I think it's really cool in stories like these where the technology does still work and essential organic sort of items like food and natural fibers are the things that are very difficult to find. So I wanted that to be reflected in his clothing and color scheme. So I gave him a color scheme that's somewhat muted so he can blend into urban areas like sidewalks and concrete. So I gave him a few duller accessories like a black jacket, pants, boots, and a glove. But then he has some more natural accessories. He has some tan woven blankets, a handmade scarf, he's got a lot of real leather in the design, and of course he has plant life, but it's trapped in this very industrial looking terrarium. And of course I contrasted some of those like more muted natural colors with some of the modern colors that we have, like a neon yellow hazmat suit, some neon orange trim on the boots and on the activewear and on his glove. And I also added some glow to the terrarium and to his respirator as well. I just wanted a mix of like old world manufacturing, like knitting and leatherwork, mixed with more modern materials, colors, and manufacturing like plastics, metal composites, artificial rubbers, stuff like that. And to sort of round things out, I also gave him a lot of accessories that I think he would need in a setting like this. He's got a machete, a water flask, he has oxygen and a breathing kit, which in my very sci-fi fantasy explanation, I imagine that he's got sort of like a symbiotic breathing apparatus with the plant life because, you know, CO2 and oxygen kind of go hand in hand. He's got some little essential details like a change purse and a pouch of MREs. And I also came up with like a little spray paint marking system that I think his organization might use to mark like this zone is clear, we haven't found anything here, or this zone is dangerous, sort of like a green, yellow, red system. And because he is part of a little organization of scientists, he also has a little ID card hanging from his scarf. I also headcanon that his scarf was a gift from his grandma that he got whenever he graduated with a bachelor's in science, and he still wears it. I know it's very anime of me, like everyone always has like a scarf from a beloved relative, but I think it's cute. And with that, all of the character designs that I'm doing today are done. Again, I had so much fun with these. This was like very refreshing for me to do, especially since a lot of the character designs that I've been doing lately have required a lot of research. Sometimes I just want to like turn my brain off and come up with something off the top of my head. So this was pretty much perfect for that. Please let me know if you want me to do more of these, and if you don't, I don't care. I'm gonna do more anyways because I had a lot of fun. Also, feel free to speculate personalities and backstories and names wildly in the comments below. I always love reading those. But right now, more importantly, I would like to take a moment to salute the patrons who make all of this possible, especially my executive producers. Wolven_arts, Corvid Dome, Lovisa, Eloquent Silence, In the Galaxy, Cleos, Meeks Hunter, Megan Penland, Sushi McNushi, Satoni, Mel W, Jim Jiminy, India Gloom, Hypnos, Reflings, Katie, Michael Twycross, Sweet Winter Garden, Gravity Drop, Panda Pie 365, Bobo McFo, Will Schmidt, and Bean the Bread.